It is nuts how we collectively as gamers want more really awesome experiences. In some cases we want something more old school, not necessarily a remake or something that we used to play, but rather a new experience that maybe is inspired by the past. We want to relive the quality of the glory days, but that doesn't mean we want to only see remake after remake. We want new properties, and when discovered, prop them up, especially if they're able to deliver, which is why it continues to baffle me that this first-person shooter did not manage to be bigger than it actually was. Trepang is easily one of the best first-person shooters, if not one of the best games of last year. It's a stellar game. It's a title that should not be underrated or overlooked. This is in many ways exactly what we've been looking for. I played it last year, but a big part of that is that I look for stuff like this so that I can showcase it here on the channel. My best guess is maybe the marketing failed this game. Either way, this is a first-person shooter that you should not miss. Before we go any further, I want to thank 2Game for providing me with a code for this video. Currently, Trepang along with other PC titles are all on sale on their website for the Black Friday event. Trepang happens to be 50% off, and if you use my discount code, you can knock that down a bit more. So if you're interested in adding to your PC collection, whether that be Trepang or something else, please check out my links in the description and pinned comment. All of this goes towards helping the channel. Now back to the video.
Wire keeps disconnecting on us. Don't picture me, you whiny schluck.
I go back to what I touched on at the start. I do not understand why no one is talking about this game. Now, I do not want to discount the loyal players who happen to play and enjoy it. This you can see from the Steam reviews and other reviewers like myself talking about how much they love this game. But this is a title that feels like it's so good we should be screaming about it from the rooftops, and yet especially from the big games media and other bigger content creators, we don't get much from it. Now yes, you can say that there's a lot of games coming out all the time, so it is hard to cover everything, but Trepang is the type of title where you see it, just a glimpse of it, you're gonna want to give it a try. You feel compelled to because it looks so visceral, so deadly, and so much fun. I can confidently say that Trepang plays as good as it looks, especially if you're someone just craving for a first-person shooter, with a wealth of single-player content. It practically has near infinite replay value, all coming from that great gameplay loop. It's awesome, addictive, and absolutely great. Trepang is the type of experience that many of us ask the big studios to provide. A single-player focused game with plenty of value packed in. Trepang could have sold with just its Horde mode, because this has got to be one of the best versions of it. Much of that comes from the options that you have in combat, along with the variability that the Horde mode lends itself well to. You can play the same situation multiple times, and based on what choices you make, and then the quick pivots that you need to take in the middle of battle, that means you can pretty much have an endless entertaining experience. The Horde mode very much presents what this game does very well. It's all action focused, and playing the same level does not mean the same experience as the last. I think that at its core, this is why this game is the type of thing to pull the player in and not let you go. I hadn't played this game for a while. Like I said, I played this at the launch, but once I got back into the action, I'm like, oh right, this is amazing, and I'm remembering all the reasons why this experience sticks out so well to me. Playing again now with some distance from the first time that I played it, it allows me to reaffirm all of the positives that I took away from the game. Even just looking at the first campaign encounter, I love how the variability is so high in how a player can tackle each situation. There is a bit of a thinking man shooter thrown in there, as you are continually reacting on the fly. Should you put on your cloak to get a breather, or get behind an enemy to potentially grab them, or do I use the cloak to get to a better position? Use my slow-mo now to take down these 4 guys, or do I quickly throw out my last grenade and then focus on the soldiers coming at me from behind? The options seem endless, but much much of the awesomeness comes from what the game provides to the player, the powers, guns, equipment, and all of that, mixed in with the problem solving you are doing in each combat encounter. It's that loop. The game cranks player empowerment to 11 and creates something that through its gameplay makes you wanting to come back to it. Sure, it has some upgrades and even some cool old school unlocks in the campaign, but when everything is then earned and achieved, you are then left with the shooting, and that is the strongest part of the game. If you had to sell someone on Trepang, I would say it incorporates elements from Fear, and much of this stuff is obvious from the visual style, gunplay, presentation, and slow-mo, with some sprinkles of Crisis, especially with the cloak. And then honestly, whether intentional or not, Trepang reminds me of the PS2 shooter Black. The gunplay has a nice mixture of Fear and Black. The shooting in this is equal parts violent and visceral. The sound effects feel punchy, like there's some weight behind each of your shots, especially when firing that shotgun. You feel like a god when you have this weapon. Impact-wise, there is a liberal use of blood and dismemberment. Heads and limbs can all be blown off, and in some cases just outright explode. It is the delightful kind of video game violence that all of those news anchors worried about during the 90s, and all of this stuff that us gamers actually wanted in our games. Something else to note too, this game is unabashedly masculine, for those of you that enjoy getting that feeling with your action. With 2024's Space Marine 2, Trepang also brings the same type of flavor to the player. This isn't a game interested in getting sentimental, it's about the action, and then as a game keeps the player coming back for a long time. Trepang isn't a very long game. The campaign is a decent length for a single player, but the wealth of unlockable cheats and many combat simulator maps allows for you to get that sort of endless variety here. Another thing to point out is that Trepang, especially through its Horde mode, is an easy game to get into, especially for some quick player sessions. There have been times where I only had about 30 minutes to play, and saw that 2 hours had gone by. The Horde-style maps allow for you to get that action fix quickly, but since the game has that heavy use of variability with its gameplay, you determine how this playable action sequence is going to go. I never feel like I wanted to move on from this game. Trepang is an exceptional first-person shooter, and one that as time goes on, I look back on this fondly, and then I just want to pick it back up again too. I spent most of this video talking about how great this game is, and the game really is that great, but there are a few areas in the campaign that could be good areas to work on for a potential sequel. For one, I like the supernatural elements, but many of them also felt half-baked at times. This is an area that also felt inspired by Fear, but could use some more attention. Also, do not expect some compelling story or mystery like the original Fear had. The story isn't anything that really pulled me in, but it also never really got in the way of the action either. I commend them for their effort in trying in these areas, and while the game excels at the combat, presentation, and replay value, those other areas are where we could see them boosted up in a sequel. Regardless, Trepang is a wonderful shooter and one of my favorites. I will continue to sing its praises and look for reasons to talk about it again and again. I highly recommend it. Thanks again to 2Game for providing me with a code for this video, and check out the links in the description and pinned comment if you are interested in purchasing Trepang or other PC games during the Black Friday sale. Have you played Trepang? What are your thoughts on it? What are some other first-person shooters that you think deserve some more attention? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can help to keep this channel going strong, and this allows me to be able to do more for my awesome audience. Please check out the links in the description and pinned comment for ways to support the channel. And most of all, thank you very much for watching.